Hey everybody, Neil Thompson, founder of Teach the Geek here. I work with technical professionals so they present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. I want to tell you all a story. It has to do with when I was a member of Toastmasters. I was a judge in a speech contest, and I was one of two judges. The person who gave the speech, well, they gave their speech, and afterwards, it was incumbent on the two judges, myself included, to give this person feedback. The first judge focused mainly on nonverbal communication, use of hands, gestures, use of the room, moving around the room, everything that didn't have to do with talking. My feedback had to do exclusively with talking. What did this person say? Did it make sense? Was it easy to follow? That type of thing. So now this person has to figure out, what should I prioritize? Because if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. I highly suggest prioritizing the verbal part first. And the reason you do that is because people are sitting, or you have an audience because they want to know what you have to say. And if you if you have all the nonverbal gestures down, but it's hard to figure out what you're even talking about, well, all those gestures mean nothing. They still leave the meeting not knowing what they need to do. They still leave the meeting being confused. They still leave the meeting thinking, what was I even in this meeting for? So I'm a big proponent of focusing on the words first and then the nonverbal communication second. So you have to figure out, what is your call to action? What do you want these people to do after the presentation? What points do you need to make sure that they lead to that call to action? What intro would make sense to lead to those points, which would then lead to that call to action? What kind of stories can you use to couch any kind of data that you'd have in your presentation? The slides, what do you need the slides to say? What kind of images do you want to use on the slides? What do you want any titles of graphs and tables to be? I think those are the things that you really need to focus on. And then once you become proficient at that and become more comfortable with actually giving presentations, actually talking about what you do, or just talking about what you need to talk on, then you can focus on hand gestures. Then you can focus on moving around the room. Then you can focus on all these nonverbal communications. And I think that's just the way to go. You start with the verbal, and then you move on to the nonverbal once you've mastered, or at least not necessarily mastered, once you become more comfortable with the verbal. That's really what I want to say about that. This person who was giving the speech for that speech contest, I don't know what she decided to focus on primarily. I hope that she decided to focus on verbal first and then nonverbal. Toastmasters is really big on the nonverbal and the verbal too, but I find it skews very heavily towards the nonverbal. And ultimately, where if you're in an audience, you want to know what the person has to say, not necessarily how well they use their hands or they moved around the room. But I mean, I see how that's important too, but I think the verbal takes precedent. Again, my name is Neil Thompson. Thanks for being here. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Always remember to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Every bit helps. Thanks. Have a great day.